So today we are starting a new unit, and that unit is going to be going over two-dimensional shapes, which are just the shapes that you know, like squares and rectangles, or circles and triangles. Okay, those are two-dimensional shapes. We're going to start by talking about the circle. Now, a circle is defined as a set of points that are equidistant, that are equidistant from a given point. What that means is, let's say we have a circle, okay? So I have a point in the middle of my circle. Equidistant means equal distance. So this from here to here is the same as this from here to here. And this from here to here is the same as this from here to here. And when that happens over and over and over again, you create a circle. That point given inside the circle that is the same distance from all the points is called the center of the circle. So this point right here is your center. A line segment with one endpoint on the center and the other endpoint on the circle is called the radius. A line segment that passes through the center of the circle that has both of its endpoints on the circle is the diameter. And the circumference is the distance around a circle. And the last thing that you need to know is that pi, actually, I'm going to write it over here. Pi, and it has this little symbol right here, is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this circle, and all of those words that I just said that didn't mean anything to you, we're going to actually define those. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that a circle has a center. Now, the first definition that it gives us is that a line segment with one endpoint on the center, okay, so that means right here, and another endpoint on the circle, so that means right here, is the radius. So this is radius. Radius just goes from the center of the circle to the outside of the circle. The other thing that it talks about is a line segment with one endpoint on a line segment that passes through the center of the circle that has both of its endpoints on the ends of the circle. So let's say that this is the endpoint. So I go through the center, and then it keeps going and hits the other end of the circle. That is called our diameter. Then the second to last thing it tells us is that there is something called circumference. And circumference is the distance around the circle. Circumference is the perimeter of the circle. Okay, so radius, center to circle, diameter is circle to center to circle, and then the circumference is going to be the perimeter. Okay, now something else you need to know is that the radius is half of the diameter. And then you also need to know that the diameter is double the radius. And the last thing you need to know is that pi equals circumference divided by diameter, and it always equals 3.14. So we're first going to start by talking about this pi over here. So let's say we have all of these circles. You have circle A, circle B, circle C, and circle D. Circumference, which is the perimeter of the circle, is 6.28, and the diameter is 2. Well, pi is what we're looking for, and pi equals circumference divided by diameter, so it's going to equal 6.28 divided by 2. I took my circumference and I divided it by my diameter, and that's how you find pi. If you do the math, 6.28 divided by 2 equals 3.14. On the next one, you have that the circumference is 15.71 and the diameter is 5. And when you divide that, you get 3.14. You have pi equals 31.42, and you divide that by 10, and you would get 3.14. And then you have this last one, and I want you to write down what you think. It's 37.7 divided by 12, which is 3.14. So anytime it asks you for pi, pi is just the circumference divided by the diameter. Pi is the ratio, and remember that ratio just means division, of circumference over diameter. All right, moving on. We have the next one. It says, if the diameter of the circle is 15 feet, what is the radius? Okay, so that is talking about diameter and radius. And the relationship that we talked about there is that the diameter is double the radius. Or if we're looking for radius, the radius is half of the diameter. So what I would do is to go from diameter to radius, I just divide by 2, which would give me 7.5. The next one says, if the diameter of a circle is 20.25 millimeters, what is the radius? Well, remember, radius is half of diameter. So if I'm looking for the radius and I know the diameter, then my radius would be half of 20.25, which would give me 10.125. The next one says, if the radius of the circle is 4.2 inches, what is the diameter? So what I do is I know that my diameter is double the radius. So I would do 2 times 4.2, which gives me 8.4. The next one says, if the radius of the circle is 16 centimeters, what is the diameter? Well, like we just talked about, diameter equals double, which is 2 times the radius. So diameter equals 2 times 16, which gives us 32. This one says the circumference of the circle is c centimeters. The diameter is 42 centimeters. Use this information to write an expression that best represents the value of pi. So if you remember what we were talking about up here, we talked about how pi is the ratio of circumference to diameter, or circumference over diameter. So pi equals circumference divided by diameter. So pi will equal our circumference, which we don't know. It says right here that the circumference is c centimeters. So we don't know, it didn't tell us. So I'm just going to keep that as c. And the diameter is 42. So we get that pi equals circumference over 42. The next one says the circumference of a circle is approximately 39.27 inches. The diameter is 12.5 inches. Use this information to write the expression that best represents the value of pi. So I know that pi equals the ratio of circumference to diameter. So that means that I would take circumference, which is 39.27, and divide it by the diameter, which is 12.5. Okay, this one says that the circumference of a circle is c millimeters, the diameter is 36.25 millimeters, and write an expression that best represents the value of pi. So we know that pi equals circumference divided by diameter. In this case, we don't know what our circumference is. It says that it's c millimeters, so I'm going to keep that as c. And then it says that the diameter is 36.25 millimeters, so I'm going to change my diameter to 36.25. And the last one says that the circumference of a circle is about 28.27 feet. The radius is 4.5 feet. Write an expression that best represents the value of pi. Okay, so we know that pi equals circumference divided by diameter. It tells us that our circumference is 28.27 feet. But then it doesn't tell us here about diameter. It tells us about radius. It says the radius is 4.5 feet. So I need to go from radius to diameter. And remember that the diameter is double the radius. So I would do 2 times 4.5. And that would give me my diameter of 9. So then I would have 28.27 divided by 9. All right. If you need to, you can pause here, make sure that you have everything written down. And I mean everything, because this is a lot of information, and it's going to be really pivotal that you remember all of this information because it's the foundation of this entire unit, okay? So, pausing here, letting you get all your stuff written down, all right?